everyone. Welcome to In the Know with Cat Bobino. Today, my extra special guest is coming all the way from Georgia, and we are talking to Tyus Williams. Are we calling you Dr. Tyus Williams?
Probably eventually you'll probably call me Dr. Tyus Williams, but for now, just Tyus Williams.
Okay. So, Tyus Williams is a wildlife ecologist. And what are you studying out in Georgia?
So I'm not studying anything currently in Georgia. I'm currently in the process of studying. I'm currently in the process of going through grad school, which is a full-time effort in itself. But through my senior thesis research, I actually studied jaguars out in Central America. So I'm a wildlife ecologist, but I have a niche specialization in carnivore ecology. So all the animals that can eat you, like that's my game. I love that stuff.
I gotta say, I love that stuff too. So that is amazing. So what made you pick jaguars?
I loved mammals ever since I was a kid. I'll always be a herpetologist at heart, but I think by passion, I'm always.
Ew. All right, looks like we are trying to connect. Oh, wait. Looks like we're trying.
Are we back?
I'm back. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Did you miss that? No, did you miss that last part, or could you still hear me?
I missed it. You froze, unfortunately.
Oh, no worries. Anyway, you were asking me what got me into jaguars, and I was saying that I've loved big cats ever since I was a kid. I'm definitely a herpetologist at heart, but mammals are my jam. I think there's something really alluring and majestic about wildcats that just captivates the human mind in a way where you just recognize that these animals go back 30 million plus years and they're still around here on this planet. When it's just, they really truly are the most elite predators in their domain. You know, just about every environment, every biome or ecosystem where they are present, they thrive, and they just, and it's really hard to take down a big cat. You know, I can't think of a single animal that actively predates a large wildcat, because it doesn't happen and it's very uncommon. They'll eat each other sometimes, but those are the very rare circumstances. So I think that's what it was. I just think it was how important they are fundamentally to the ecosystem, but just I think how much respect they demand as an organism too, to really be at your best and at the top of the food chain. Knowing how many other animals there are around you requires a substantial amount of evolutionary perfection, and I think that's what really captivated my mind.
Wow. Okay, so that was a lot to digest. So I'm going to take it piece by piece. So number one, you're a herpetologist at heart. So what reptiles do you really into before you decided your niche on wildcats?
So I think, growing up as a kid, I grew up on Steve Irwin, Jeff Corwin, Animal Planet, Discovery Channel when it was in its prime. And I think just the way that Steve and Jeff used to interact with snakes, I think was what really got me. It was so enthralling and so fascinating. And I was just always like, wow, I can't believe you can do that. You can go out there, you can work a snake like that. I think there's this very fearful and sometimes unfortunately vindictive property placed on snakes, especially lots of reptiles. And personally handling wild snakes, they're quite the opposite of what people think they are. They're very gentle creatures, and they're just incredible. I mean, can you imagine how hard it is to survive without legs for over hundreds of millions of years? And I just think it deserves everything but the utmost respect. And I think it started with snakes for me with herpetology.
That's amazing. I do want to give a shout out. I wanted to remind everyone, including you, that we're on Facebook Live and we're doing this. And if you have questions or you have comments, make sure you hit them below. And thank you for everyone who's joining us. We did have one comment already from Deshaun who says snakes rule. And I will have to agree. I did I did my undergraduate research on the diamondback water snake.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I love herpetology and I love big cats. So you are kind of talking near and dear to my heart with all of this that you're saying. Like my favorite big cat is the cheetah.
Yes, you know what's incredible about cheetahs is, well, there's some really cool, interesting facts about cheetahs. Is um, the Nearctic region, which is one of the faunal regions. There's all these different types of faunal regions around the globe. The Nearctic region pretty much encapsulates North America.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people realize that cheetahs have a pre-existing history in North America, and that's because they evolved alongside the American pronghorn, which is still here, present in North America. And the North American pronghorn, I think, can run up to. It is the, if I'm correct, it is the fastest terrestrial ungulate.
Mm.
I don't know if it's on Earth or in North America, but they can hit speeds of up to just about over 50 miles per hour. So you can
Right.
imagine being a predator like cheetah, you would have to expend a certain amount of evolutionary energetic energy to be able to surmount that speed in order to
Right.
catch them. So essentially, that's one of the reasons why cheetahs are so fast, and so that's why they can take down gazelle and impala like it's nobody's business, because they've had to chase pronghorn pretty much throughout their entire evolutionary life.
Yeah. I mean, so just FYI, this is a show that everybody watches. So I like to break down some of the things we say. So ungulate, like a hoofed animal, basically. And
Yes.
so, these hoofed animals are that can run 50 miles per hour. They're needed to be, well, not needed to, but I guess needed to keep their population in check. So there needed to be a predator that can catch them and take them down, which
Exactly.
brings us to the cheetah. And so one of my favorite things is, if you've ever had to learn where animals go, or all of us go on our evolutionary chain, I like to remember it as King Philip crossed over 5 great seas, or kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. So even though the cheetah is in the same family as all big cats, that's it. They break off from the evolutionary tree there, and cheetahs
Yeah.
become their own genus species, not related to any other big cat.
They're
So,
more closely related to mountain lions and
mm-hmm.
the jaguarundi, actually.
Yeah. So I love it. I love cheetahs. But anyway, we've gone down that path. Let's get back to Tyus. Now that you've gotten your desire to study jaguars as your niche, what took you to Georgia or to your school?
So so I'm originally from California. I was born in the West Coast. My family is generally all from California as well. My dad's job is what actually brought us down to Georgia. So I pretty much grew up in Georgia. I finished elementary school, middle school. I did high school in Georgia. So I grew up in the Alpharetta area, pretty much 3 minutes outside of Atlanta.
Okay.
And then I went to college at UGA. The Hope Scholarship is such a life changing, I think, educational scholarship for people that really gives the opportunity for a lot of people who don't have access to higher education to have a chance to go and obtain a degree. And I can't
Mm-hmm.
think of so many people that I've interacted with throughout my time at college, just all the same thing. I mean, to have 80% of your tuition covered, and just all you have to do is maintain a decent grade point average. I mean, that's just such an incredible resource to pass up. So I think I really try to utilize it to my advantage.
So I don't think I've heard of that scholarship. Can you tell a little bit more about that scholarship and how you can obtain it?
Yeah, so it's been a while since I read about Hope, but so hopefully I don't botch it. But from what I can remember, the Hope Scholarship, it is a state-funded scholarship that, if I'm correct, it comes from, I want to say, taxpayer dollars, that all of that eventually funnels into this scholarship so that kids can have a resource to fund their education.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much you qualify for Hope Scholarship by really just maintaining a 3.0 average. So as soon as you come out of college, if you have a 3.0, excuse me, not college, if you come out of high school and you have a 3.0 grade point average, you qualify for the Hope Scholarship going immediately into college. And you pretty much have to maintain that grade point average as you go through. Otherwise, you can lose it. And it's like, that's incredible, to be able to you pretty much qualify for this scholarship immediately after coming out of high school and knock out 80% of tuition. So it's a big game changer for a lot of people in Georgia.
Wow, that sounds like a game changer. Like, I'm from California too, born and raised, and we don't have that scholarship out here. Because it,
Yeah, it's insane. I think about like all different sorts of socioeconomic classes that are in Georgia, in meeting people from whether it's upper middle class or like rural, low income in areas in Georgia, to be able to talk to those people and be like, I'm the first person in my family ever go to college. I'm from rural South Georgia, and I wouldn't have been able to do this for the Hope Scholarship. I just think that's extraordinary. That's incredible.
that is amazing. So, congratulations on that. And I hope that if we have any other viewers who are coming from the Georgia area, that you check it out, especially if you have students or if you have kids that's in that area. Just maintaining a 3.0 in high school gives you an opportunity to go to college, and 80% of it is paid off. So, we had a comment saying that's big from Deshaun, and yes, that is big. Yeah, I don't know if California was able to do that. I think we'd have a better, number of students either going to college or maintaining those grade point averages. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So you said you went to UGA. What did you study while you were at UGA?
So I studied fisheries and wildlife science. That's the actual title for my degree. So it's fisheries and wildlife science with an emphasis of wildlife science. And I studied at Warnell, the School of Forestry and Natural Resources.
Oh wow. Okay. And so what were you studying? Like what did you write your paper on to get out of college basically? What was your niche then?
So, which well, the program is so great because it's such a diverse amalgamation of kind of like different classes that you're required to take from. I'm trying to think, environmental economics to environmental biology of fish. You took a little bit of invertebrate and natural history. We did a little bit of spatial analysis, so some computer programming, coding stuff in basic ecology classes, and then whatever types of like prerequisites or courses that you want to add on. But the way I ended up taking doing research on jaguars is when you're in your senior year, you have the opportunity to take either senior thesis or conservation decision making, and that's a kind of a group project. And I realized that I wanted to get into research after a couple of years of being involved in research projects, and that's how I ended up getting involved in the jaguar research. I kind of started looking around for prospects, people that I could potentially work with, and I came across my advisor, Marcella J. Kelly. She's at Virginia Tech. I reached out to her if she was taking on any undergrads for thesis projects. She was like, yeah, she's like, if you can get funding, I'd be more than happy to advise you. So I wrote a grant scholarship with one of my faculty advisors at the school,
Mm-hmm.
and I got the funding, and I had the ability to go over to Central America and study with the team for a month and help out with all the data collection. And I think that was like where everything started for me.
Now that is amazing. I think sometimes we don't understand, or sometimes college students don't understand, that finding that research project doesn't necessarily have to be at your school. And for you to find the project that was at Virginia and be able to join them, like that's a really great opportunity that you had.
Oh, definitely. I was so grateful to come across me. What's funny is because it was kind of like by chance. It almost seemed like the stars kind of aligned perfectly. I have a book called Wildcats of the World. It was written by Dr. Mel Sundquist and his wife Fiona Sundquist.
Mm-hmm.
They're both incredible scientists. He's a professor at the University of Florida, and I reached out to him because I was like really interested in his research because he used to do stuff with tigers. That's my favorite big cat. So I was like, if I have a chance of doing tiger research with this guy, I can do whatever I need to do and go abroad and do this. And unfortunately, he was retired. So he was like, sorry, son. He was like, I really appreciate your interest. He's like, you sound like a bright kid. He was like, but I'm not, taking students anymore. He was like, but you should check out Marcella because she does awesome research with jaguars. And then that's literally how it all unfolded. Just a matter of just reaching out and I think honestly catching a break. You just got to try.
Yes, yes. I preach that all the time. The worst thing anyone can ever tell you is no. So for you to take that step and reach out to these professors and people in STEM want to tell their story. They want to help you and help the next generation. So hitting up a researcher who's retired, who has a book, who's probably done all the Macklin things. I've never heard of him, but I'm pretty sure him and his wife have probably done a lot of good things. And he responded. And he sent you down the right path. So that is cool. So
I think that itself is big.
Yes, it is. And so can you tell us about your month in Central America and the research that you did? Like, how was it?
Yeah. So my senior thesis, my title of it was estimating the spatial overlap of jaguars using remote camera sensing in the Mountain Pine Ridge Forest Reserve of Belize, Central America. And what I mean by remote camera sensing is spatial overlap. That way we can kind of define these terms.
Right.
So essentially, jaguars are very solitary animals. They're very particular about their movement patterns and the way they move throughout a corridor. But at the same time, too, sometimes they cross into each other's territories. And the study area is only about maybe 500 square kilometers in size. So I was trying to figure out how often do these jaguars cross in terms of territory, and can we pinpoint this on a map? So in the range, in the reserve, we had about 50 different stations where we set up cameras, I would say parallel to each other. So one was on the other side of the road and one was on the other. So they were both facing each other. An animal would then move through that, triggering an infrared sensor, photographing the jaguar on both sides. Jaguars have very distinguished spots referred to as rosettes that are almost akin to a thumbprint for a human. And so if you get both sides of a jaguar, you can actually identify them because they're all different from each other. And so by taking a GPS point for those stations, I can then convert that into a digital map and then log points on when they are actually captured on the camera and seeing if jaguars, multiple individuals, are going through the same area. And it was just incredible. When I was actually doing the data and I was looking at the analytics and doing the research, there was a point where I wasn't sure what was happening out there in the forest and in the terrain. And then once I created the map and I actually saw what was happening visually, it was like this light bulb effect went off in my head. And I was like, there's like the connection that I was missing the whole time. And I think that's when I realized I love research so much, because you're answering a question that you're curious about and you're following all the scientific processes that are essential to to answering a good hypothetical, and I did it, and I think that was like the most rewarding experience. And also too, just Belize is just a gorgeous place. I mean, just to wake up in the morning and listen to parrots squawking, it's so surreal. Like, the world is a big place. People really should go and explore it.
Absolutely. Yes, you said it a lot, but that's amazing that you had this opportunity to go. I have yet to go to Belize, but I've heard how beautiful it is, but also how diverse it is when it comes to the animals that live there. So it's just to be able to wake up, like you said, and hear not just parrots, I'm sure, but other birds of paradise, as they call them.
Yeah.
Living in their natural habitat, things that we often see in a zoo or in someone's home. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, it was mind blowing. It is just, it's still weird to even think that I was there. These animals that I've probably seen on Animal Planet or Discovery Channel at some point, just crossing right in front of me. It's like I had a bit of a moment where I was kind of like, yeah, I guess I kind of am Jeff Corwin. So
I'm not mad at that. We need to know the Jeff Corwin. So, I think you should keep going down that pathway because we need it. But that's
it was a great time. I was very thankful for the experience.
Do you still keep in touch with the professor at Virginia State?
Yeah, we still chat sometimes, and I was actually at the TWS conference in I want to say late September through early October. It was in Reno, Nevada. It's a huge conference where people, TWS means the Wildlife Society for people who aren't aware of it.
Right.
And it's a huge conference for people in the wildlife field to get together, disseminate knowledge, have seminars, presentations and panels, all sorts of stuff. Just a huge party for wildlife nerds to get together, essentially. And I got to see her at the conference and some of the research members that I worked with, and that was really cool to like catch up with them.
Okay. And so right now you're working on your PhD to get your once you're done, what is your plan after the PhD?
So the goal is I'm working to get into a PhD program. The goal afterwards is I think I want to work for a non-governmental organization. I think there's something about NGOs that I think there's something genuine about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the authenticity and the altruism that comes into really investing your time and heart into something rather than, I think, the profit. And I think I would probably like to work for an organization that works on conservation research and hopefully work my way up to being maybe a lead carnivore researcher. And then, if I'm getting, have the time on my hands, I actually would love to get involved in sociopolitics. I think we are in a historical turning point in our society more than ever where scientists need to start getting involved in politics. And if I can contribute some of my time to voice my thoughts and make a difference, I'm more than willing to do that.
Yes, I cannot agree with you more, especially with the politics aspect. Is what we have been dealing with for the last 4 years really needs people with I'm trying to make this PC, but people with education.
It requires a special touch.
Yeah. People who have done the research and are actually concerned about the situation and actually they need to speak up, or I should say need to speak up and be a part of the solution, and I'm probably going to get people who are not going to like the next part that I say, but instead of voicing your opinion on social media all day, like do something about what's going on. That's just my little PSA.
I think you touch a great point. And I know I'm not to turn this into a political podcast because I want to definitely keep it PC, but I was just going to note that I think one of our biggest issues is that unfortunately a lot of our legislators don't come from scientific backgrounds.
Right.
And it's kind of, contrary to vote on something when it comes to natural resources or to pass a bill or mandate and not really know the empiricism that goes behind it. And I think that's where unfortunately, our Congress is falling short. And I think that's where we really need to make the change.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. Let me take this time again to say you're listening to In the Know with Kat Bobino. Today, my extra special guest is all the way from Georgia, and he is Tyus Williams, who is a wildlife ecologist, hopefully specializing in big carnivores, especially wildcats. So that's amazing. We are also on Facebook Live. So if you're watching, you have any questions or you have any notes that you want to add, please put them on there. I can see them and read them out. So Deshaun said true to what we were talking about, and Bobby said word. So yes, that is exactly what we want to see. And if you have questions for Tyus, let me know. We're also in Oakland, California at VJTV Studios, or I'm sorry, Where Media Meets Studio. Yes, shout out to Oakland. But we're at Where Media Meets Studios, and make sure that you check them out. I am working with VJTV, who is instrumental in this podcast. So I want to give a special shout out to that. Also, we are sponsored by informedscience.com. So if you want to know more about what's going on in the science world, check out informedscience.com. Okie dokie. Back to Tyus. So with all of the things that you have been working on, things that you like to do, what is it that you do outside of science, outside of school?
Yeah, if I'm not doing science most of my time, I'm a huge outdoor recreation enthusiast. I'm a huge hiker, avid explorer. I love rock climbing, and I do a lot of wildlife photography. Nature really is my asylum. If I'm not doing research, I generally use a lot of my time just immersing myself in it. I always feel better when I can just kind of like really, just close my mind off and really just kind of just absorb all the peace and tranquility that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
I love writing poetry, and a lot of it is inspired by the flora and fauna and geography of the world. I guess I'm just a bit of a transcendentalist in general, just a inherent naturalist. I spend a lot of my time outside.
Yes, I ain't mad at that. And just to break it down a little bit, flora is plants, fauna is animal. I don't know what the transcendentalist word did you use. I'm usually good at making science.
Transcendentalist is like. Oh, I was just gonna say that transcendentalist is just like somebody who's kind of it's not exactly a religion, but it's more like a perspective that's placed in nature. So like I would say spirituality associated with like nature into some way.
Okay, I ain't mad at that. So yes, I'm a big nature person. I have a little dog. I take him hiking out in the redwoods, get him off leash, let him
adorable.
Yes, he's adorable. And he's horrible too. Like all he wants to do in nature is pee on things, but it's whatever, he gets his time to be free and to be out and about. And I get to enjoy the trees, the smell, the sights, the animals. That's all a part of it. So I enjoy it. He enjoys it. So, but what got you into the photography part?
So my mom was actually a photographer. She practiced it for a while. My mom actually had a few different websites that she kind of dabbled in. She did one that was called That Girl with the Camera, and Celebrity Dog Watcher. My mom would write about celebrities and their dogs. And she would like write little clips and like news pieces about them, because my mom loves dogs. And my mom was also a photographer, and then one of her little mini companies or businesses was called That Girl with the Camera. Family photos, portraits, and stuff like that. So she's always had that artistic eye for detail, and I think that's probably where I get it from. So she passed her camera down to me so I could convey the beauty of the world through my eye. And so I thought that was really cool.
That is awesome. And so what do you like to take pictures of? Is it just flora, fauna, or landscape? Like what's your ideal for photos?
I would say my primary medium is probably wildlife. I do like taking photos of plants. But I feel like it's enhanced more when I think there's some form of an animal that's like against it. I think it really like magnifies the beauty. And I do like taking photos of like landscape. So just pretty much everything that you said. If I could get into underwater photography, I totally would. But that gear starts to get really expensive. And, we got to save those dollars out here. So
especially when you in school,
Yeah.
It's hard to sometimes dabble in what we want to.
Me, they're more than welcome to.
I say that all the time. Y'all want to fund this podcast and the work that I do in STEM? Exactly. Please do that. I do still have a GoFundMe up. You can go to it. You can always send just some change. It ain't got to be big, but everything helps.
Break off that check,
right?
Break off the checks.
Everything helps. So, but yeah, okay. So in the next couple of years, you want to hopefully do your research, maybe with an NGO. Probably still do photography, maybe underwater photography. Hey. And so
we'll see how it goes.
So if anybody wants to get in touch with you or learn more about you, how can they do that?
I'm pretty active on social media. They can contact me. I'll probably trying to think. I can leave my links in the description for you probably when we're done if you want to post it. But you can find me on Twitter at Science with Tyus. My Instagram is also at Science with Tyus. I'm super interactive, so you can just like DM me or message me at any point in time, and I'll probably get back to you. And you can always email me too at Science with Tyus. At TyusWilliams15 at gmail.com. And generally, I do have a personal website. It's Tyus D Williams. My middle initial is D. .wixsite.com. And that's my personal website.
Amazing. Yes. And if you want to put it in the description, that's awesome. But
definitely,
is there anything you want to add before I let you go about you or your work that you want the public to know?
I can't think of anything specific that I want the public to know, but I think the only thing I can share is just stay curious about the world. You know, it's a big planet. There's a lot to discover. I think when we work together and we unite against the efforts to stop something that threatens the natural resources, I think it really brings us all together in the end. And nature is for everybody. Science is for everyone. We have room for everybody, all diverse groups, everybody, all gender binaries, all orientations, no matter what you look like. And, you know, if you ever second guess yourself, just know that I'm an example here to this day to tell you that you do belong here. So I hope you come and join us.
That's amazing. So I want to say thank you for joining us. And I'm going to say my outro, but I'm going to let you go for now. And yes, he's very active on Twitter. Okay. That's how I found him, and I sent him a DM. So make sure you check him out. All right. Bye, Tyus.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, everybody. I wanted to say thank you for being a part of the show tonight. I do want to make sure that you understand what we're doing with In the Know with Cat Bobino is we're trying to get the word out there. Like he said, that everyone belongs in science or everybody belongs in STEM. Doesn't matter what you look like, where you come from, or who you are and what you call yourself. You know, that doesn't matter to us. What matters is the curiosity. What matters is that what we're going to do is keep spreading the knowledge and keep spreading the knowledge. I have someone off camera who keeps talking to me. It's annoying, but we're going to keep doing what we do. I also want to remind you guys that all of this is done through Communications in STEM, which is a 501c3. So if you want to learn more about communications in STEM, just go to communicationsInSTEM.org. With that, we are always open to donations. We're also open to volunteering. We have quite a few things that's going to be coming up in the near future. So, number one, I am going to go do some deer capturing in about 2 weeks or a week and a half with some biologists with the National Parks Association. I can't take pictures and video of everything. However, all the pictures and videos I can take will be shared with you. I'm also going to be doing podcasting while I'm out there. It's going to be, I guess you can say, wildlife podcasting. So I'll be in the middle of no man's land using my phone because I'm not taking a bunch of equipment with me to talk to the biologists and the work that they do. So stay tuned for that. We're also going to do a live podcast on March 18th at Montera Middle School. We're going to talk to a couple of people in STEM, as well as have a couple of students as guest co-hosts. And we want to make sure that they are involved, they're asking questions, and they get to meet people who look like them and talk to them about STEM. So these are some of the things that we are working on now. Again, I have an open invitation to go to different places. If you watched our last podcast last week, I spoke to a PhD candidate who works with brown pelicans. So if you want to see what it's like to go to Louisiana, to a remote island, to get off a boat and get pooped on by 1 million pelicans, while you're trying to do research and make sure that they have a place to live, then make sure you go to that GoFundMe and donate, because this is some of the things we're working on. We want to bring it to you, but we really want to bring it to your kids and your students. We also were invited to do our live podcast at an elementary school. That is still in the works, but we will see about that. But again, if you have a school, if you're in the area in the East Bay, and you want us to do a live podcast, we do it on Wednesdays, and we can work it out to bring it to your school and bring some STEM professionals to your school and have your students learn what it's like to be in those programs. But again, this is In the Know with Cat Bobino. We're at Where Media Meets with VJ TV. I want to say thank you all for joining us tonight. We're going to end early and enjoy a Wednesday evening. So good night and have a good Wednesday.